Coming up on SLBC Election Special, aspirants for the position of national chairman in the person of Alex Gunafar will put forward his plans and aspirations to his party membership, the Slpp and the country as a whole.
It's about coming here to tell him what we're doing. Exactly. What we actually need to do is to have stronger women within the governance architecture to be able to push the drive of things, because we all think that when women are committed, they are very strong and they are very pushful, especially when they are determined to do things, they want to do them to the better.
With SLBC Joseph Ibenda Kapuwa on SLBC TV and radio.
This is a free-to-air service of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation, and the interest of the public, we are bringing you live interviews with all candidates, men and women who are vying for the position of chairman, leader or secretary general of their political parties.
On Wednesday, the 15th of December 2021 at 10 p.m. with repeat broadcast at 1 p.m. Be a part of the SLBC Election Special.
Hello and welcome to Election Special, the program following all electoral activities of all registered political parties, from their lower level elections to the National Delegates Conference as the country prepares for the 2023 elections. My name is Joseph Ibenda Kapuwa. The Sierra Leone People's Party will hold its National Delegates Conference in a fortnight. Already, there are at least 4 aspirants for the position of National Chairman of the party. Today, we have Alex Gunafar, one such aspirant for the coveted position, who is here to tell us his plans for the party if elected. Welcome to Election Special, Mr. Bhonapha.
Thank you very much.
Who is Alex Gunafar?
Alex Gunafar is a proud Sierra Leonean. He is a barrister and solicitor of the High Court of Sierra Leone. He was one-time chairman of the Kailan District Council. He was also one-time president of the National Union of Sierra Leone Students, an associate lecturer at General University, and the director of the Centralization Sector Private.
Why do you want to lead the SLPP as national chairman?
All right, thank you very much. I have been inspired or motivated by a couple of issues in the past primary. At the moment, we see that the party has a standard that is not quite complementary to what we used to know by the founding fathers. And so this is why we are coming. For example, this is a party that initially had prided itself amongst democratic credentials, amongst its ideology of one country, one people, having a cohesive and agile political party. It's a party that prides itself amongst other parties to win mentality to ensure that they very much live up to the expectations and yearnings of the SLPPians and Sierra Leone as a whole. We have seen over time that this party has lost all of those values. For example, from 2017 to now, this party has not been able to add no new member to the Sierra Leone People's Party because we do not have the management structure at the party of this to run membership drive. We do not have proper membership character to encourage people to come to the party. This is a party, it's the oldest party in West Africa and one of the oldest in Africa. But we still live on analog system. We have not been able to gravitate from that point, for example, and move to a system of digitization where we have our membership registered on the proper database system. So we'll be able to quantify our membership in the country. We'll be able to know those who are actually registered SLP members and not mere party supporters. So we see it's a crisis as a whole. We also notice that this is a party that has not been able to stand the test of time fiscally, financially. Once it goes into opposition, we are always faced with the crisis of having to lose very credible and competent members because the party cannot support its membership within the opposition or during opposition. So we also see this as a challenge. We have also seen that this party before now operated an open door policy on transparency and accountability. And we have seen a shortfall in that. From 2017 to now, we have not been able to publish an audited financial statement of our party accounts, and it's a crisis in the party. This all boils down to the leadership, the lack of leadership powers or management at the party level. So it's against this backdrop, coupled with the current infight in the party, the cracks within the party, the holes that have been created into the party, it's become so divisive that if we are not very careful, that will cost us dearly going forward into any elections. So it is against this backdrop my motivation and inspiration that there has to be somebody to rescue this party. There has to be somebody to drive this party to where we want it to be. There has to be somebody to cement the cracks and mend the cracks. There has to be somebody with the temperament and vision and drive to be able to push the agenda of His Excellency the President to be in tandem with the party governance architecture. So this is why I have come up, this is why I have produced or presented myself to be the suitable candidate for the position of chairman in the next coming election.
Maybe we want to be specific on this. I mean, what personal qualities or characteristics do you possess that you believe separates you from the other candidates?
Well, I have in this country demonstrated some leadership qualities and they are on record. For example, back in my days when I was president of the students, I had ensured that I maintained balance between government and the students. I ensured that the students were never victimized and the students also did not take advantage of government to create chaos in the country. And for this reason, I always remain the youngest recipient of the highest civilian order in this country, the Grand Commander of the Road on behalf of the students. At Kairan, where I was chairman of the Kairan District Council, amidst huge government interference and intimidation when Slpp was in opposition, I held the fort very strongly at that point and ensured that I protected my people amidst the vicious Ebola virus disease. I showed leadership. I protected my people. I had to do the pilots together with my paramount chiefs that was later escalated that we used nationally in this country. That was a show of leadership. When we had a fictitious case in Shebima after we had completed 100 days, when we broke the chain of the transmission, they gave us another case. I defended that for 3 weeks in this country. And I'm on record that the government had actually apologized to the people of Thailand and myself because it was a lie. So we have to apologize, and this is also another show of leadership. I have demonstrated this at various levels, and I think that I have that quality to ensure that I bring blood, inject new blood into the party system that nobody can withstand. I have pedigree that is unmatched to any of the candidates that we are talking about now. I have popularity, I have the charisma, I have my colleagues, my compatriots who gravitate towards me to ensure that we build a better system.
Maybe on the scale of preference or priority lines, please list the top 5, if you like, significant contributions that you have made to life, I mean, within the Slpp on the one and part of the country generally.
When generally in the country, we start with the country, and
at least in the past 5 years.
In the past 5 years. Sure. You will note that Ebola virus disease was no main thing in this country. I had contributed immensely to develop the Bible. Like I said, I actually led the process in developing the Bible. And as we speak, even for coronavirus, they just changed the name of the Ebola virus bylaw to coronavirus. This is an immense milestone that I did in my career as a young politician coming up. Whilst I was in Kailan, I was able to develop a lot of other students and university graduates that currently parade around me. They gravitate around me to ensure that we work very well. In this government's manifesto, I was the lead person that did the manifesto of local government, and we see that it's very, very good. This is why we currently now have the decentralization policy done and approved. We have had the government local government bylaw now being gazetted so that it's in parliament. These are all my handles. And I've also been very, very pivotal in the establishment of the law school at Jola University because we actually started it, we did the curriculum. So generally it's not only about Slpp, it's also about my contributions towards them are immense. In the Slpp, we realized that when we are chairmen and mayors of council, we did not have the ability to become NEC members of the Slpp. While MP members of parliament, we are NEC members. I also had to do an opinion paper on why the chairman and mayor should also be members, and it was approved in the new constitution. So these are some of the contributions I'll be doing, coupled with my various presence at the respective courts around the country, defend the party people, remove the party people from the hands of the laws illegally.
People are questioning your maturity for no less the position than the national chairman. I mean, a man probably in his early or mid-40s, vying for the leadership. I mean, effectively, the administrative job of the party will rest with the national chairman, I suppose. And a lot of people are raising this as a concern, that perhaps Alex Gunafar may not possess the maturity that it carries, the office of national chairman carries.
The position of chairman of the Sri Lankan People's Party is no more as contentious as people used to know. We used to have the chairman leader, and that was like the be and end all of the leadership of the Sri Lankan People's Party. The position of chairman of the Sri Lankan People's Party is not third in rank. You have the leader, you have the deputy leader, and the chairman. The requirement of the chairman needs to have someone who is strategic, who has strategic thinking, who is placed in a position to push the drive and vision of the party. Besides those, the constitution of this country clearly stipulated that for a man to be able to carry the shoulder the responsibility of this country in any capacity, including the capacity of president, must have reached the age of 40. I am over 40, I am over 45. So what is difficult to run? The country or the party? If the constitution, the framers of the constitution are wise enough to say that at 40 you can become president of your country, why would I not become chairman of my party at over 45, 46, 47? I mean, this is what people say, but it's not about age, it's about the vision, it's about the drive, it's about the energy you have to push in new things to ensure that you uphold the standards of a political party, to match the standards of political parties around the world. We should not be talking about age here, because I think age is very important. Whereas I think that it's very important, probably it's not the most important in this case. What's important is the competence, the capability, your message, and how you intend to lead the political party that is so large from the quagmire that we're in currently. Because at the moment, the party is in a crisis, and that is what we should be talking about, and not age.
How do you respond to speculations that your candidacy is merely to support the party, that probably you have a preferred candidate and you may only be coming into this to maybe divide the votes, so your preferred candidate will end up winning?
Well, interestingly, I'm the only alternative to all the problems in the party currently, because I provide the vision and drive. I have a message that I are giving that nobody has given in this party. I have a structural system that I want to put in the party. For example, we want to talk about unity within the party. This is something that we have not been speaking to, we have not been talking about, and it's beneath in our party currently. We want to talk about consolidation and expansion. I just told you that in the last 5 years, we have not added any member to our party. But that besides, we have not been able to reconcile to ourselves our indifferences. Those members who became disenchanted and disgruntled in 2017 and sat back to see what was happening, they have not been able to bring them back to this party. I think that is what the responsibility of the party management should be doing. Reaching out to those persons, extend the olive branches to them, bringing them back to our fold to consolidate them, and not to expect from the party. We have not been able to institute the grievance redress mechanism within the party. I think that's very germane. That's where we have our petty squabbles. We should have a platform to settle them amicably, and there should not be reason why people should leave the political party. We want to talk about the economic expansion and independence, the fiscal independence of our party, the financial independence of our party. It's not only akin to Slpp alone. All political parties have got this crisis around the world, and this is where research comes in. And as a researcher, I have done my research. I realized that political parties that have tried independently around the world are those who have based their parties on their investment potentials. So within and outside of power, they are able to consolidate their membership, consolidate their holdings, and they cater for their membership. In Sierra Leone, for example, in the Slpp that I know, if we are out of power, we are in crisis, we rely on the goodwill of pure party supporters. If we are in power, we are in crisis. We rely on the windfalls from appointees, government appointees, and the powers that be to support political party. And that should not be the case. When I become the chairman of the Sri Lankan People's Party this December, what I'll do is to ensure that we put our plans together. We concentrate on our investment potentials. We try to develop a seed bank for the Slpp. We try to invest in cash crops, via the cash crops, for example. So we have party farms in palm kernel, in cashew nut, in cocoa. These are world-leading cash crops in the world. And when we invest in them, their viability period is over 30 years. If we have those investments within the party, that is the springboard on which you can step. For example, to cater for the petty traders, to cater for the students, to cater for the teachers, to cater for the craftsmen, so that you always have people attracting themselves to the party and not having them come to the party to invest in the party. So your subscriptions as a political party member becomes a requirement while you are a member of the political party and not a way of supporting the party once you have the investments in place. So these are the things we actually should be talking about: competence, vision, message, your determination, not age.
How do you hope to heal the wounds, to reunite a divided SLPP after the National Delegates Conference? I mean, certainly you are aware that the race for this chairmanship appears to be a bruising experience.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't agree more. But I will tell you, this is why if you see my motto, it's the unity we seek. And Bhonapha is the unity that the SLPP seek right now, because I have temperament. I am the unifier. I am as well the pacifier. We understand that a lot of things happen under the bridge. We have had a lot of political rancors, intra-party rancors. We have lost houses. Houses have been bought as a result of our impasse in the party. We have had vehicles bought. We have lives lost. The last was Dompo. I mean, it's still under investigation. But now, because the wounds are so deep now, and the elbows have been bruised to a point that they cannot be healed easily by either parties that are involved in the crisis. This is why the Sldp People's Party, the delegates, are now faced with a difficult circumstance, a difficult situation of having to sacrifice two of our very best party members. Dr. Is Alex Gunafar is by no means a small man. He is a very serious party man. He loves the SLP. He has served the SLP. He has worked for the SLP. Jimmy Bartolo Songa, his enthusiasm is enormous, is enormous. He has also served and worked for the party. Unfortunately, these two people have had their party supporters, their camp supporters, engaged in some bitter rivalry to the point that we have lost lives, we have lost property, and the party is now in a crisis. So when I say we are faced with a difficult situation as delegates, is to sacrifice these two people for the position of chairman so that they can sit apart. And when Alex Gunafar becomes chairman, I bring all of them together because they have enormous respect for me like I have for them, so that we can work together. I always use them as some other capacity in the party to serve. But at the moment, what we need now is pacifier, somebody who can unify this party, somebody who has the pedigree and temperament to go down to the lowest level, to go down to the highest peak, to bring party members together, those who have been disengaged, those who are disenchanted, those who have been expelled. We finally around next to see how we can ameliorate the situation so they can come back to the party and will form a solidified force.
So it's very simple, but the question is how?
Well, for me, it's simple. You know, leadership is done by guess. It's a science. Leadership is a science. You have to study it. You have to understand it. It has to be part of you. You have to practice it. I mean, because I forgot to tell you, again, that I'm also a peace and development practitioner, at least. So, because I know the interest of the varying parties and where their interests lie, we'll be speaking to the interests and not the individuals. I mean, for example, if peradventure we were to ask the two parties today if they want to see each other being chairman of the party, they would prefer to die than to see any of them become chairman of the party. And alternatively, if they ask them of the three, who do you prefer? They will say, we prefer Bhonapha. Before this one, I'll prefer Bhonapha. Before this one, I'll prefer Bhonapha. Because Bhonapha understands their situations, understand what the situations are within the party. I have remained independent and neutral in all of the elections, and I have said it unapologetically that I will not take sides with any divide. What I will do is to wait when elections are over. I preach to the candidates, I preach my message of peace, hope, and invigoration of the political party. And that is what we stand for. I will tell you without missing words that when I'm chairman, it will not be a difficult thing to do, because I will be leading as their servant leader, but I will lead from in front to see what we'll do.
Now, the National Women's Leadership Elections ended last week or 2 weeks back. You know, after they were cancelled in Kailao. You know, there are reports of intimidation, there are reports of violence, there are reports of threats of violence in Kailao. Do you blame all those on the current leadership of the party?
Well, then, we have to understand when we speak about the leadership, the context in which we speak at the moment.
The leadership that conducted the election.
Okay, good. So for the purpose of this debate, this discussion, when we talk about leadership, we are actually talking about the chairman of the party. so that people understand that it's not the political leadership who gives strategic direction at the party level. Now, I think that something is largely missing in our party, and this is what we should seek to correct. All of the party members in the Sri Lankan People's Party should stand up to correct this forward. I actually think that the party should be transparent, open, for example, and we have to ensure that we just create a level playing field where everybody performs. This is where you understand and enjoy politics, and this is where you understand unity and cohesiveness. Because once you begin to think that you have a mind of getting a particular candidate in the post, I assume, then it becomes a problem. I would think that if I were conducting the elections for the women's position, I would create that level playing field. I will encourage dialogue to the highest point, so that when you go into the elections, it will not be caustic, it will not be toxic. You go as friends, you go as sisters of the same political party, and at the end of the day, everybody will just come out happy and embracing. But then there are rumors that people had to use finances, they have to buy votes. And I think I wasn't there, I couldn't say that. But one thing I know is that anybody who sells his or her votes is doing that at the detriment of the political party, because you'll be only enjoying the use of corruption for probably 1 week or 2 weeks, and after which the party still remains in some serious quagmire or suffering for the next 3 years. So I wouldn't say that there were threats or intimidations. I heard about it, I read it in the news, where there are some social media pictures that we saw. I wasn't part of it. I was not even made an observer of that movement. I was not even made an observer. But then I was also in Cairo in my home, because I had to provide the necessary things for everybody who went, those who wanted to eat, who wanted to relax, who wanted to have some drinks, who come to my home, because I play host to them. But then I think going forward, the Slpp should seriously think about, for example, expanding the delegates base, and this is serious. I mean, this we have to be speaking true to some of these things. If you expand the delegates base of the electorate, for example, if you want to have the women's leader elected, and you say, okay, every woman of the Slpp who is a chief patron of the party, as long as you are paid up, you pay your dues regularly, you should be entitled to a vote. If you have 30,000, 40,000 women electing their peer, there will be no foul play, there will be no cry of buying votes.
You want to say this again? I mean, talking about the conduct of the National Women's Leader, the election for the National Women's Leader. How would you have done it better if you were chairman?
So I think that the opportunity that we have now, this is the beginning, and I honestly expect that going forward, they will entertain the candidates. Sierra Leoneans have the right, they should be given the opportunity to see their candidates. They should parade them on platforms like this and ask them together, sit them together, probably in a debate or in some panel discussion, on a symposium, for example. Talk to them, let them bring out their points and why they think they are good, they are the best candidates, or they are the better candidates to the others, why they think the other people should not move. If we had done that initially, by the time we ran this country, the country would have selected their women's leader or their chairman, as the case may be. I think this is one thing we need to be doing, and I also think that it's very important that SLBC is doing this, but going forward, they should be, parading these candidates, speak to the people. What do you think? What new things do you think you can add to the Sri Lankan People's Party? What is not there that you want to bring? Or what is not there, what did you leave?
We spoke to the candidates.
Oh yeah, sure.
We spoke to the candidates.
But for example, I don't have the opportunity, or the other candidates now don't have the opportunity to vet what I am doing. Probably they can only say it in my absence. But if we are seated together, and I say things that they don't believe, they can cross-check. They can challenge them, and we can have those discussions. If I say I'll be able to do this, probably they will check my records and say, okay, when you were president of a student, you did not do that. If I say I could provide a leadership, they will say at times you can, so you did not. And I'll be able to I will be given the opportunity to respond. In the same way, we'll be able to ask other candidates their credentials, their pedigree, what they can do, what they have not done. And some of these questions that we are speaking to, and then about divide and other things, they should actually be talking about that. How have they been able to divide the political party? what do they think this crisis has brought to the SLP? I should not be speaking to that. If we are all here together, we should be able to answer those questions and speak to those issues.
And the possibility still exists to have a debate, for all these candidates to speak on these issues. I mean, this is just a platform to see what you have for the people of the Sldp People's Party, what your visions are, and then probably before candidates to debate also. But then, on another note, Mr. Bhonapha, we've also heard of the SLPP Women's Wing. We've also heard of the the GMB Women's Wing. What's your understanding of these two groups within the SLPP party fold, and how positioned are you to have one women's group, if at all?
Well, probably I think there's only one women's group in the Sldp People's Party, and that is the Women's Wing. We agree that we have a support group, and it's not just a woman group, it's a blend of both men and women, and that's a group that largely supports His Excellency the President, and it's called the Julius Maada Wing. It's not a female wing. So that is the wing that supports the President. But the one that we actually have that is the Women's Council is the SLP Women's Council. I'm not sure people want to conflict the two. I think the two should be running separately from each other, with one not interfering to the activities of the other. Probably there are times that they could converge to have some understanding and undertake some developments with some understanding. But I think that these are two separate entities and they should run separately.
Is it a case that members, from your understanding observation, members of the SLP Women's Group are, by some measure, members of the GMB Group?
Well, it's also a possibility. I mean, it's also a possibility. Like I am a lawyer, I can also be a development practitioner, I just told you. But then I should not be confusing or conflicting my roles. When I am in the Women's Council, I operate as a councillor of the Women's Wing. When I'm in GMB, I'm a supporter of the GMB Wing. I should not have the GMB, for example, which is a support group of His Excellency the President, overseen or having overriding influence over the Women's Council, if that is the understanding. What I think is happening is that we have the supreme authority, the Supreme Women's Council, which is the authority for the women in the Sldp People's Party. The other one is the support group of His Excellency.
There are also reports, or there exists reports about the existence of the what's called the Hwen group and the Kapuwa group within the SLPP. As a man vying for the chairmanship of the party, talk to me about the basis of these groups, and your approach to handling them.
So when we have been the thick and thin of all, I think the idea of Kapuwa actually came after the 2010 elections, 2010. Okay. Delegate conference at Jubilee, when the president ran against candidates like Usuboi, Kadiko, and a host of others. And after that, like, sometimes some things just come. But then I say these were just two groups, like you had at some point the black man, the white man at college. But then these are just nomenclatures attached to these people in the strict sense of the word, in the catalog, they all go for members of the Sldp People's Party. But we have allowed this seeming divide to become so deep now that the cracks are open, the wounds are still running very fresh, and the
ones between these two groups.
Exactly. So what we actually need to do now is to have a chairman who has the ability to manage this two group and bring the people together. Because I've always said election is about numbers, and numbers count very much. Everybody has got one vote to the polls in 2023. Everybody has got one vote. So we need not to consolidate our gains together. I have been, okay, I'll tell you that I supported the president in 2005 with McKinney, the prime president. When he started his speed, I supported him. I have been him for the past 17 years, but I also think that there is need for unity to bring everybody together. I have never wavered anyway. And those people who support me now have respect for him because they know that my positions, my loyalty, most times is unquenchable, but then my objectivity is very supreme. People understand that about me, that I'm very objective when it comes to saying things as they are. I honestly think at this point, in my opinion, that we should cement our cracks, we should bring all of these factions together to form a common bond, where there will be no more no more Kapuwa, but the Sldp People's Party. because we now want to look at the Sierra People's Party beyond the new presidency. Well, who wants our party to be called? We want another name. We want other names for the party. Like we are currently seeing at the micro level, at the chairmanship level. We have started seeing the presiding faction. We have started seeing the university faction. We don't want it to degenerate the country or go back to 2005 between Solomon Bayo and Jasmine Guy. That caused us the. So we now want to get people together. We cement these cracks once and for all. We have a complete and holistic reunion of the party, a united front, so that when President Bill will be ready to bid us goodbye after his 2 terms or after his tenure, he will leave this party a solidified one to be able to take leadership again for the 3rd term.
From your understanding of the party constitution, what's the relationship between the leader of the Slpp and the chairman of the same party?
Well, the chairman is actually there to provide support and advise the leader of the party. The chairman is actually supposed to be the administrative head of the party. And this is why it's very pivotal. He has to be somebody with that temperament. He has to be somebody who wants to sit at the party office and only work for his political party and not being an appointee of government. For example, he has to be somebody strategic enough to be able to map out strategies. He has to be somebody that creates a situation within the party to understudy the president's manifesto and where we have succeeded and where we still need to do more, so that he will be admonishing the president and the government on those things, so that we will not have questions to answer when we come back to ask for the vote of the people for re-election in 2023. So the chairman of the party, other than being a bit here, needs to be strategic, somebody who has the energy to move around the country to see where government has performed and to see where government is yet to perform, to come back to give the reports, to consolidate the party, even at the subnational level. That is the responsibility. You just need the young man with the agility, the vibrance, the competence and enthusiasm to go into that with temperament and be reporting back to His Excellency the President while advising on some of those things. That is the major responsibility of the chairman of the party. That is how they should be operating. And the party is one thing that should be protecting the government. The party owns the government. And when the government goes, it is the party that suffers largely. So this is why you need to have a strong party, a party that is strong in character and nature, a party that is firm to be able to do the things that they are supposed to do, talking to the president on issues that are going wrong, talking to government appointees, ensuring that the government is being defended amidst huge anti-political or government bashings. For example, when you have a government, a global economic downturn, everybody is suffering it around the world. The government is being last year and the party is not coming to the rescue of the government. The party is not holding press conferences to intimate the public about what is happening globally. These are the things that the party should be doing, other than involving those petty squabbles, those petty divides or manipulations to win elections. These are the things that the political party should be doing. You don't want to go to elections to become chairman again because you just want to be chairman.
Is the role of the chairman not redundant in the face of the leader?
But when you become the government appointee, you simply see yourself as being, just an employee of the government and not somebody who seeks to take responsibility of his party, not a moral guarantor of the party. So what you actually want to do is not to hurt His Excellency or the government on the things that we are supposed to do as a political party. This is what you don't want to do because you don't want to lose a job. You don't want to lose some of the facilities that you enjoy. But actually we need a chairman who sits, and the president very much is willing and looking forward to a chairman who will sit with him and discuss issues and tell him the things that have been wrong, because I'm very sure that he has not been informed by the current system adequately. He has not been given most of it. I will tell you something. With the Constitution, there is also some provision that I am checking the Constitution. I have done the letter to the IMOC chairman because it's very serious that anybody wanting to seek national office shall have himself nominated 1 month ahead of the elections. And I think I'm very convinced that at the time that my nomination went in, at the time that I reached the issues, nobody had been nominated as a chairman candidate. I don't know. This is my supposition. It's my assumption that that did not happen. But then we have some constitutional things that we have to look at. We also know that the delegate list should have been published 21 days For example, prior to before the election, now we see as recent as the 12th of this month, we are still publishing delegate list, and it will not match the 21 days. So these are all legal and constitutional issues that we need to straight up, and these are things that we're speaking to.
We'll come to that bit of the process, except as you prepare for next week or thereabout for the election. But if you are just joining us, my guest is Alex Gunafar, and this is a special program sampling the views, the visions of all the candidates vying for the position of national chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party. And this is not just limited to the Sierra Leone People's Party. The SLBC will also be engaging other political parties as they prepare for the National Delegates Conference, and we hope to be talking to all the candidates vying for those positions. But for tonight, we have Alex Gunafar, who wants to become chairman, national chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party. Continue to stay with us.
Coming up on SLBC Election Special, aspirants for the position of national chairman in the person of Alex Gunafar will put forward his plans and aspirations to his party membership, the Slpp, and the country as a whole.
It's about coming here to tell him what we're doing. Exactly. What we actually need to do is to have stronger women within the governance architecture to be able to push the drive of things, because we all think that when women are committed, they are very strong and they are very pushful, especially when they are determined to do things, they want to do them to the better.
With SLBC Joseph Ibenda Kapuwa on SLBC TV and radio.
This is a free-to-air service of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. And the interest of the public, we are bringing you live interviews with all candidates, men and women who are vying for the position of chairman, leader or secretary general of their political parties.
On Wednesday, the 15th of December 2021 at 10 p.m. with repeat broadcast at 1 p.m. Be a part of the SLBC Election Special.
So then let me cross over to you then, Alex. In your opinion, does your party, the Slpp, come before the nation or a national interest, otherwise of utmost importance always?
Well, I think in everything that I do, nation comes first. Well, we have to understand that, and I can give you examples. In 2007, I was president of the Australian students in this country. I am Slpp, I've always remained. And then the government was in power. And something happened, and they wanted the students to demonstrate, to come out to demonstrate, because they thought that at that moment the credibility of Christian Atok was actually on the thin thread, hanging on the thin thread, and they only needed somebody to ignite that, to demonstrate, to show that the results were incredible, you are not credible, you are not germane. But I thought at that time that it was Sierra that actually had gone into the election and won, and that no student's blood was worth any politician's ambition. So I stood my ground. I made it very clear that nobody would demonstrate in the streets of Sierra Leone, because at the end of the day, it will be the Sierra Leone that won the election. That was a demonstration of my leadership and patriotism, to show that it's nation first, nation second, and nation third. The only difference that it makes now is that there is a very thin line. So when we really compare development in Sierra Leone, we can only attribute that to the Sierra Leone People's Party, because their vision for the party is very much akin with the vision of development for the nation. And this is why I chose the Sierra Leone People's Party. I know when there is sanity within the Sierra Leone People's Party, it will be escalated to the macro level, and Sierra Leone will have sanity. When SLP is at peace and continues to reign politically, Sierra Leone will have stability, they will have development, they will have good things happening in the country. And that is why I think that they have their similarities. Their vision is very much in line with the visions of the developing nation like Sierra Leone is.
And talking about sanity within the party, sanity even across the country, you and I are aware about the fight against corruption. It still continues. Recently, we even had indictments of senior figures, and then your chancellor building saga and what have you. Within your fold, within the party also, what kind of thinking could you bring to the table in the fight against corruption, the chairman?
Well, I think that the young man the Anti-Corruption Commission is doing so well, and he has actually won the hearts and minds of so many Sierra Leoneans, both in the diaspora and national, and some other people who are also not Sierra Leoneans. What we actually think we should do now is to look within, is to look deep within and see if what we actually practice out is something we are practicing inside. I just told you, I might be mistaken, perhaps forgive my ignorance, but it's actually been 5 years we have not had a published account audited account of our financial statements in the party. And I think that is not speaking to transparency and accountability. I'm sure it's a very serious problem, and this is why we think we should change the dynamics. If I become the chairman, I will cause to be published every financial statement of the party. Secondly, we know when money passes through too many hands, because corruption is juicy, there's always a temptation and likelihood that people will tamper with them. There are always apps that we can develop. We are finding ourselves in this current dispensation of people that have the best IT specialists in the world, for example, the one in Asengi and others. We should be able to develop these apps where somebody who is in his room and is supposed to pay 10,000 per month as his subscription should just use his own money or every money, for example, to pay, and the money goes directly to the bank and it's updated. This is where we're talking about the digital system, and we have a database of the party. So by so doing, you realize that the bank only becomes the receiver of the monies. So you have the bank statements published periodically, so people know what comes in, what goes out, what are the expenditures. And we should be able also to have activity plans as a political party hosted. We should be able to have, and that is what I will do, we should be able to have a strategic plan of what the party wants or wishes to achieve in the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years. We should be able to do that and phase them out and be able to give tangible reports on them. If we do this, then we are suffocating corruption at that level. And I think we should be able to do it. Even with loans coming from overseas, I think that our brothers in the diaspora are doing so well. They are paying their monies, they are paying their cash. But I think this subscription also helps very well. Instead of just having this money put into envelope and one person just takes it and goes, okay.
Is that the case?
Well, that's the presupposition. Like mostly, that's a presupposition. So we think that somebody now can sit in his office after 1 week when he's been paid in his job or on his job, he just sends his donation via Zelle or other things.
I'm talking about that bit. How will the Slpp, under your leadership as chairman, take advantage of the pending internet revolution? You spoke about efforts made by the current Minister of Basic Education. How will they ensure that your people, particularly those in the regions, in the provinces, benefit from internet services?
So when I would not likely vouch for the entire country, but I told you when I'm chairman in the first 3-4 months, I will be able to ensure that we have at least 132 computers, desktop or laptops. In every constituency, there shall be laptops, there shall be printers, and there should be stationery, so that we begin to do our membership mapping from the chiefdom, sectional level, chiefdom level to every part of the country. We have a digital system within our party offices in the districts, so that we'll be able to know our memberships who are paying their funds or who are paying their dues, and we should be able to quantify them. I will tell you that as a chairman, I will be working closely with government to also ensure that I work the nook and cranny of this nation to see where we have had lack internet connectivity and other things. I will be able to talk to the network mobile operators, because it's very key to know that we should be able to speak to NATCOM, we should be able to speak to Slpp and other agencies, for example, to ensure that we have internet connectivity in those areas where people actually need them.
The elections are just a few days away. Are you comfortable with the process so far?
If we were to conduct the elections today, I will be the winner. I will be the chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party. I have worked extensively. I have touched every delegate in this country. Every single delegate in this country I have touched, either by my words or by my actions or by my agents. I have touched them. And I think that we're in a position where we have spoken to the delegates that it's not about Bhonapha, it's not about Prince, it's not about Batlo, it's not about Momodu. I understand he's also running Momodu Kurma, or it's not about JS Kefala. It's about the Sierra Leone People's Party. So the delegates should have a real situation to choose and to read between lines and to realize that It's not knowing that to rescue this party. It's not the few pretenses that they give people that should rescue this party. It's about the survival of the Sierra Leone People's Party beyond 2028. It's about having the formidable force, about being the foundation for growth of the Sierra Leone People's Party. So the children and generations, yes, one will benefit from the decisions that they will make this year.
Are you satisfied with the process so far?
Well, I will tell you that IMOC is doing it. IMOC so far has done some good jobs. IMOC is the Elections Management Committee of the party that was set. David Senge is the chairman of that committee, and we have other members on the committee. But I'll tell you, I have also done a letter to them. I have questioned, I have raised a few concerns, and these are strong concerns I have raised, and I want them to address it. The first of it has to do with Article 12. I just said I want I have challenged the IMOC chairman to publish a matrix of those members that have been nominated, the dates that they were nominated, to publish them so everybody can know those people who are going to the race who have been nominated. I have also asked them to ensure that they have a draft of our photos, the voter list, or they do the voting slip, the ballot, so that people can understand clearly those who are contesting. For our people who are in the villages who are coming, who may not quite clearly understand, they see the pictures and they understand those people who will be voting. I've asked them also that. I've also said the Constitution made it very clear that where we have membership support groups outside of the usual, the normal delegate status, every 200 members that you have will give you 2 delegate status. Every 1 delegate status will be additional 200 registered members. So for you to have 10 delegate status, you must have 1,800 registered members, paid up members. I have also asked that they publish the list of all those delegates, their membership. If you have 10 delegates, for example, PTO1, they should have 1,800 members and they should be registered, and they should publish the names for us to know. Because if there are members, you should have their telephone numbers. So we try to verify some of these things. We cannot just sit down and have people fictitiously bring names of organizations and their names of delegates, and we don't know the membership of the parties in crisis. Because the last time I checked, since 2017 to now, we have not added new members to the party. We have not had party memberships added. So if we are having this number of people, the party should have funds. So if you have 50 delegates out of those organizations, we'll be talking about 9,000 members and paid up members, registered and paid ups. So I have said, my team have said that we need to have a data of those membership. We need to have their lists published so that we can know, for example, that PTO have 1,800 members. It's from those 1,800 members that they have gotten 10 delegate status. This other group has 1,800 members. So when we see that, we are satisfied that, IMOC is doing what we have challenged IMOC, that, it's a time that they prove their mettle and they have to stand out. What have been said? Well, the letter went in today. The letter went in today, so we are waiting for their response. The letter went in today. We are very much looking for that. I want to see how the elections can be transparent as possible, so that there will be no room for vote buying or any other thing. We want to ensure that in that hall, everybody who is a delegate sits through the process. They all sit through the process. When you vote, you come back and drop your ballot. Do not use telephones, because we understand that people are giving monies to people. They are taking votes. Whatever they do now is their business. For me, they are not stepping this nation. But when they come into that place, they should be searched properly to ensure that nobody takes the phone to where they are voting.
Are you apprehensive, Mr. Bhonapha?
Well, I am not, but then you don't give room. Security gives way, conspiracy gives way to conspiracy. You don't leave room for any mistakes. We just want to tie out the loose ends. Once we are sure we comfortable, we want to be sure that the right things are done. We want to be clear that people traverse on the right path. We want to be clear that this election, our democratic credentials are right up there.
Do you trust IMOC?
Oh, very, very much, until people otherwise. Very much. I trust them. I trust their credibility, and I'll tell you without missing words that to a very large extent they were able to prevent a lot of votes buying on the day of the election, because we saw videos on social media from the Kaira experience that people would take that blank, just that white paper, they will take it, when they come, they put it in their brass, they take it out for 50 chances. We saw those, I don't know whether they were doing it for, I don't know, but I saw some social media clips around it. But then Senge was able to change that drastically. Just in a couple of days, we actually had real faces, real pictures on the ballot paper, and there was just one transparent box where all ballots were dumped. So this is what he actually did to stop a lot of things. What we are only asking is that they improve on the system further, because I also have cases where people actually went into that area, they did not search them properly, they actually had phones on them, and they had to snap the persons they voted for.
If you are unsuccessful in your bid to the party as chairman, would you stay or leave the SLPP?
I'll not always stay, I'll be a consultant to whoever wins, because I'm sure nobody has the message that I have. Nobody has this plan. I have a 10-point plan. It's a blueprint. It's on my domain, my campaign web page is there. And for the records, I'll be having, as a party, we'll be having a functional web page running and moving, so that right from the world, people know the activities of the Sldp People's Party and the government extension. But if I lose, peradventure, if I lose, which is really, really highly impossible, I will be a consultant to anybody who wants my expertise and my team. I have a very good team. I have a team that is very good, that will be ready to lend hands to the Slpp to ensure that we reach where we want to reach.
Mr. Bhonapha, considering the risk and accidents we see every day, I mean, in the country, across the country, I would even say, do you think we actually need Okada riders in saying, is this something you can advise the leadership of the party to phase out?
Well, that's strictly government policy, and at the moment I am not in a position to state whether they are harmful or needful. Sometimes I will tell you this morning, let me tell you what happened this morning. I had left my house very early. I was supposed to have a 9 o'clock interview at AYP. I was stuck in traffic. It was 9:15, and I was getting called. I had to use the Okada, depending on how they use it, depending on how useful they are. If they are reckless Okada riders, we should have a policy streamlining them. We should have a policy putting them in the position where there will be risk management and there will be proper arrangement of their system. Possibly what I think it's missing here is that the structures are very weak and there are no proper coordinations of their system. What I tell you, there are times because of our road networks, because we have not improved them, we have not had overheads and other things, you cannot just rule out the Okada riders. What we need to do is to put strong laws and policies in place to ensure that the pedestrians are protected, and also ensure that even the motor users ensure that they also have protection on the Okada riders. But that is what we should do.
What difference will you make to the lives of women in Sierra Leone, even if as chairman of your party, whether it's at home, your place of work, in your party, in parliament, general?
So it's part of my 10-point plan. Just empowering, giving empowerment to the women and giving them voice in Sierra Leone People's Party. Not to say they do not have voice, but I would like to see a deal where a woman will come to challenge to become chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party or Secretary General of the Sierra Leone People's Party.
Would you say that if that were the case?
If we had a woman with a vision half as rich as I have, I would have stepped down a long time ago. If we had a woman with a vision half as rich as mine, I would have stepped down, because I honestly
how would you determine that?
No. It's about coming here to tell them what we have been doing. Exactly. What we actually need to do is to have stronger women within the governance architecture to be able to push the drive of things, because we all think that when women are committed, they are very strong and they are very pushable, especially when they are determined to do things, they want to do them to the better. So for me, it's all about that. I empower them not only at the national level, even at the governance level, to take positions in parliament, to take positions in local governance system. I think we need more women coming forward now to be able to encourage them to settle a lot of things for us in the country.
We enforce an MP recall system or process, for government officials who probably are seen to be ignoring their representative role in parliament.
So this is what's happened. Most times why this is not possible is because of our political divisiveness in the country, and one political party fearing that tampering a particular member of parliament will hamper or hinder their support in their region. Possibly, if a member of parliament is doing so well in his or her constituency, and he or she decides to quit, she quits with most of her membership or his membership. So this is where I've said that we should be able to have financial independence of the party. If, for example, remember, in the ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, the party buys vehicles, purchases vehicles for their members of parliament, they do investment. If every year, if we have the capital as a Equator party, every year we are giving our members of parliament, not through them, through their constituency executives, what they do, they identify the projects and the party implements the projects in the communities. So when that MP peradventure wants to leave the party, he leaves alone. Because back in the constituency, the people know that it is the Slpp that digs their wells, that construct their arrays, that do other things for them. It's not the MP. Your business is to debate in parliament. Your business is to ensure that fine laws are passed in parliament. In the absence of those, we can only rely on our MPs who use their finances, their pittances, or their salaries to do developments in their community. And these are the actual people that their people know are the
What do we call those MPs who ignore, those representatives?
Obviously, that's where those structures in place can be called. You cannot be a pain in anything in your party. You should be answerable to your political party. That's the subject for which you're in parliament. You should be answerable to them.
Do you have any intentions, if elected, to bring to the fold or to the limelight where possible the likes of the former chairman of the party, John Oponjo Benjamin?
Absolutely. Not only John Oponjo Benjamin, I'll also speak to the leadership that the likes of Ali Bango and others who have suffered for this party will also try to reason with them and extend olive branches to them to bring them back to our party. Those who have been suspended recently by this current administration, we also talk with them, we negotiate with them that we call back to the political party. Because these are,
will you regret their exit?
If I regret it, I didn't favor it in the first place. I have never favored any expulsion because I think political is not prudent. Because politics is about numbers. I always think that there should be a grievance mechanism within the party. This is what is my 10-point plan. So if we have people that have allegations of any suspicion or other things, we'll come back to the party. That is the platform that should be used to address those issues. Once we address them, probably there could be pecuniary fines. There should be petty punishment that should be up to those people. But they still need to be party members. We can punish them within the party, but we cannot let them go because we need their services, we need their support, we need their membership. Back home here, international, those things they can add. We need them. I have never had any feeling of pride having a member leave the Slpp. I don't want it. I want to see every member stay in the Slpp. That was what the founding fathers vouched for. They did not want people to leave the party. And for every time that Slpp had gone against it, said, we have lost elections. So under my leadership as chairman, I will not be there to see the party divide to a point where we'll be written an excruciating memory in our history.
The people of Sierra Leone are watching this program. They are listening on radio and they are following this discussion, particularly the delegates. Take a few seconds to address them.
So I speak to the delegates. All of you out there, you have been very fantastic. You will recall that I have touched every one of you physically. Some of you, my message, I've touched you. Yesterday I was in Tonkwalili, Bombali and Karina districts. We have spoken lengthily and you know what I am. I have just said to them, there are people who are coming with funds now. Monies are coming in. Probably this is the point that you should be eating money from people who have not given you money for the past 5 years. Take the monies and eat. You have not asked them to give to you. If they give it to you, eat the money. When you go out there in the box, vote for message, vote for competence, vote for leadership, vote for rescue in the Australian People's Party.
Let's leave it here. Thank you very much. The name is Alex A.J. Gunafar, and is one of the aspirants for the position of chairman, national chairman of the Sldp People's Party. Elections are due next week, we understand. And like I said, he's just one candidate. We will endeavor to talk to the other candidates vying for the position of national chairman of the Sldp People's Party. We hope you have enjoyed this program. If you missed part or all of it, join us either tonight or tomorrow for a repeat broadcast of this, or as we join other candidates who have their visions and who will be talking to the people of Sierra Leone about what they have to offer should be elected national chairman of the Sierra Leone People's Party. Many thanks to all of you for joining us here at Broadcasting House. This program, as usual, was produced by Tili Kuruma. And with many thanks to all of you, those who join us on Radio Land, those who join us in satellite, those who join us on Facebook. The name is Joseph Kapuwa, wishing you all a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.
Coming up on SLBC Election Special, aspirants for the position of national chairman in the person of Alex Gunafar will put forward his plans and aspirations to his party membership, the Slpp and the country as a whole.
So I'm coming here to tell him what we intend doing. Exactly. What we actually need to do is to have stronger women within the governance architecture to be able to push the drive of things, because we all think that when women are committed, they are very strong and they are very pushful, especially when they are determined to do things, they want to do them to the better.
With SLBC Joseph Kapuwa on SLBC TV and radio.
This is a free-to-air service of the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. And the interest of the public, we are bringing you live interviews with all candidates, men and women who are vying for the position of chairman, leader or secretary general of their political parties.
On Wednesday, the 15th of December 2021 at 10 p.m. with repeat broadcast at 1 p.m. Be a part of the SLBC Election Special.